So years ago, I chose to expose the supplement industry, that over 90% of supplements on the market are dangerous for you. Not only ineffective, but dangerous for you, since they are made out of these ingredients. Coal tar. About 2 hours ago, I was driving on coal tar. It's called a road. And that's where most B vitamins come from, the vast majority. Turpentine. I used to clean paintbrushes with that. That's where a lot of vitamin E comes from. Petrochemicals, oil, the oil that's in my car. That's where the vast majority of the 90% come from. Now, I'm a major advocate of supplementation. This morning when I got up, as every day, other than when I fast, I took 35 supplements. And the one supplement I can look you all in the eye and say that you need is a bacterial form of B12, the life-give type of B12. We go way out of our way to culture, to create, and to capture life in a pill. There's two forms, life-give B12 or life-give ocean energy. Now, I understand that there's economic concerns in some cases here. So, in priority, number 2 would be algae. The least expensive algae that not only has 52% protein, it corrects DNA and RNA in the body, so the future generations won't be as weak as you are. It has essential fats that the brain's made of, is chlorella. So life-give chlorella, in fact, is something that I took 20 of, little pills this morning. Little tiny things. You put them in your mouth and swallow them down, and there you go. Now, again, the next one would be blue-green algae. Blue-green algae is unique. The first is a green algae, second a blue-green algae. 54% protein, up to 70% protein, depending upon the source you get it from. Better to have the frozen variety, if you can get it. It's about 40% more effective, and prudently consumed, less expensive. But when I travel, I can't take that. I can't take frozen algae around the world with me, so I take the powder called Life-Give Body. It's either Life-Give Live, Life-Give Body. And depending upon who you are, if you're an athlete, we train everyone from Muhammad Ali back in the 60s to Venus Williams at this point, to the top bodybuilders in the world. And so we give them more. So they're taking an ounce twice a day, where the average person may take a quarter of an ounce twice a day, or half an ounce once a day, something like that. That's blue-green algae. The next is phytoplankton, a sea algae, uniquely different. Again, 38% protein, an amazing essential fats, and loaded with minerals, as are the green algae, chlorella, and the blue-green algae. Trace minerals and minerals, essential fats, proteins, what you thrive on, what you survive on, what give you energy, what keeps your brain sharp, all of these things. So phytoplankton would be next. We created years ago something called Life-Give Sea Strength. It took me over 1.5 years before I accepted it. This group came to me and said, we collect the most pristine sea vegetables off Iceland, and you don't need preservatives. I said, you're wrong. So I bought some from them. I put it in the jungle at Hippocrates for 1 year, more than a year, 14 months. I forgot about it. 14 months later, I remembered it. And I went out and I tested it. A friend of mine tested it at his laboratory. It didn't have bacteria. It has so much antioxidants in it. It's called Life-Give Sea Strength. That's a liquid. So taking anywhere from 8 drops of that a day, depending upon your size and your need, to somebody taking 25 drops of that a day. Power powder. There's many green powders on the market, and some are D level and some are C level, some are B. This is an A+ level, and we put accelerants in it, meaning natural herbs that actually make it enter into the cell and strengthen the tissue more so than it would otherwise. So Life-Give Power Powder is something we take. And that acts almost better than almost every multiple vitamin. Although we make a multiple vitamin, this actually works better than most multiple vitamins on the market. Pollens. Pure vegans who are ethical vegans are going to say, well, I don't take pollen from a bee, because, boy, they do abuse the bees in collecting bee pollen, but flower pollen. And if you're not so ethical, bee pollen. It's all about the same. Every year, this is not a joke, I've been looking at this since I began this work. Every year they had 5 or 6 new things they found in the pollen. Some of the words I have to look up. They're new nutrients I never knew about before. So that's an amazingly powerful one. Minerals. One of the things I see lacking from these sophisticated elaborate tests that we offer at Hippocrates on nutritional, is people lack minerals. Even it's so rare, it's every 5 years, and I get massive amounts of these nutrients. But if you travel as I do all the time, and you get under the stress of travel, I even lack a little zinc. Never want to lack zinc, a little magnesium. And I mean, I'm telling you people, I should never lack anything. And can you imagine the average person who doesn't eat this way, who doesn't live on a raw diet, who doesn't eat a plant-based diet? So minerals are pretty important. You lack minerals and you start to age prematurely. You start to be vulnerable. Your immune system goes down. As we mentioned a few earlier, selenium is important. Iodine is important. But how about magnesium, a muscle relaxant? Your heart's a muscle, by the way. You better have that one. How about strontium, which we spoke about, which is a small amount you need, but it bonds magnesium and calcium in the bones. And the list goes on. Manganese creates electrical charge in your cell. How about the electrolytes? Calcium, magnesium, potassium. On the Hippocrates diet, it's very potassium rich, so you don't have to add potassium. But the reality is, in some cases, if you're not on the Hippocrates diet or you're traveling, these are the things you should take. So the minerals are pretty important on that. And depending upon the individual, I'd rather than go through 10, when people come to us, we do these incredibly sophisticated tests. BioWell, that checks, it's out of Russia, checks the biofrequency fields of every cell in the body and the overall organ systems. Then out of Germany, CyberScan. It checks 100,000 parameters, looks at everything in your body you can possibly, more than any other thing. Then we do these elaborate blood tests, and our medical team looks at that, and we put all of that together. And then we determine what you need. So there's many things to choose, but some of you lack things, and some of you don't lack things, but like myself, I don't lack anything 99% of the time, but why not take exceptional amounts? So my muscle develops greater, so that my circulation is better. As we mentioned early on, if you look at nitric oxide, I mean, when the Nobel Prize was given, the gentleman they gave it to actually stated that if a person had adequate amounts of this throughout their life, we'd dramatically minimize heart attacks and strokes, which is still the #1 killer in most countries in the world. These are things to consider. We mentioned citrulline, so there you are with circulatory problems for erectile dysfunction or libido concerns for both men and women in this case. And so, the great news is when you're dealing with living food supplementation, that even those of us who are the top of our field in nutritional science, there's things in there we have yet to discover, but we're not abandoning those. We're not taking them away from you. And I may come back the next time and say, wow, we discovered 2 or 3 new things. Whole foods will give you those things. And whole food supplements are the only ones you should take. What I'd like to say is that number one, I'm proud of Stephen Shore and the work that he and his team are doing to propagate truth around the world, to offer for free the world's leading authorities who are truth tellers, who do not back down, who do not shy away from corporate and government interest. And why Hippocrates has been here from day one with Stephen, shoulder to shoulder, and now help to economically support, whenever possible, the Real Truth About Health conferences, is because it's time that the tipping point occurs. That no longer can we sit back on our couch and hope that somebody resolves the problems that are about to kill us, individually and as a human race. We have the resolutions, we have the science, we have the history, and we have the proof. We just need you to enlist. And if you don't enlist and the numbers don't mount into the millions, hundreds of millions, and then billions of us, the possibility that humanity will survive beyond the 21st century is null. So as a sponsor and as a co-conspirator with Stephen, I welcome you to embrace what we're doing and share this with your family and your friends. Put it on your cell phone and spread it. Spread it night and day, year after year, decade after decade. And with you, our numbers will grow. The army of love will grow. And we'll supersede the negativity. The economy of the world is presently based on death, dying, disease, and fear. I will repeat that if you don't fall into the category of fear, death, dying, and disease, you are a problem for the world economy today. We have to shift this paradigm. We have to turn it to health, support, community, and love. The greatest power on the planet Earth is love. Mahatma Gandhi proved this to us. Mandela proved this to us. Martin King proved this to us. Empires fell at the hands of love. But it starts at home. It starts with you. If you don't love yourself, you'll sabotage your life and eat the wrong food, make the wrong choices, do the wrong thing. Once you love yourself enough, and then you spread that among your family, and you act as a beacon of light, a beacon of truth, you become a walking, talking, living example of what others are capable of. And there's no exceptional people. There's either people who are living at a human level, or the rest of us, the 95%, who choose to be spectators. Join the human race. Consume organic plant-based foods. Do not be part of the problem. Exercise and strengthen the muscular structure, the anatomy of the body. Don't be part of the problem. Say no. Learn the word no. Don't go along with the status quo. Go along with common sense in your heart. Instinct is much more intelligent than intellect. And the last thing I'd like to say to you is that we all have the ability to put the brakes on and to make the greatest human race that has ever existed on this earth. And I believe it's going to happen. We need about 17 to 18% of us globally. We're about 12.5% right now. Just don't sit there and snicker. Don't sit there and intellectualize. Don't sit there and become a zealot. Make this happen, people. It's up to us.